Hey guys, Sean Pruitt here, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you watched my previous videos, which the last video I made was several months ago, okay? I'm not just in the business of sharing my thoughts on YouTube. It's not how I make a living. I'm actually in the oil business. And so many people have said, hey, your videos have aged very well when many people were calling for lower oil prices. Here, your video from several months ago called it. Okay. And so Sean, wrong and what have you. Look, I don't believe the lies from the left-hand side. Now, first off, you got to understand something. There's nobody that has the answer. Okay. Now, if I had the numbers, if I knew exactly how much oil was being produced, how much oil was left in the ground, and how much oil was being consumed globally, I would probably be able to tell you exactly where oil prices are going. Well, nobody has those numbers, okay? And see, the problem is you actually believe that organizations like the Energy Information Administration actually has those answers. Well, they don't. OPEC doesn't have the answer. Russia, Saudi Arabia, America, especially America, man. And see, you got to look at the policies that they're putting in place. They are shutting down oil production, making green energy promises. Now, here's the problem, okay? So the Energy Information Administration was saying, hey, we're going to reduce oil demand and global coal demand by X amount, okay? And we're going to replace it with green energy. Well, that's what the EIA kept saying. And so therefore, based on what that information, oil prices are going to be a certain amount. Okay. Well, they got it completely wrong. They are dead wrong when it comes to green energy. They are infected by the lie. You cannot. The last time we replaced oil was when we replaced whale oil, okay, with fossil fuels. That was the last major replacement of any kind of energy, okay? Oil is the most combustible energy, okay? Now, here's the difference. If you look at historically, the demand for oil is increasing. Now, here's why I think oil prices will remain around 90 to 100 something dollars a barrel. Now, many analysts, right now, oil prices are around $90 a barrel right now, okay? Last I checked, WTI crude was about 89, almost $90 a barrel, and Brent crude is about $93 a barrel. Many analysts is saying by Halloween, we're going to be somewhere around 100 something dollars a barrel. Now, here's why I believe that we're going to be at these prices for a long time, okay? Now, if you look historically, oil prices climb to crazy levels. It causes over 6,000 products out there to increase in price because everything's affected by oil. Travel, every plastic, everything created, everything built is affected by oil. Inflation, the economy, is affected by oil. Jerome Powell is watching the price of a barrel of crude closely because he knows oil affects everything, okay? Now, when oil prices skyrocket, it caused the economy to crash or soften, kind of like in 2009. We hit over 140 something dollars a barrel, the economy crashed, and then the demand for oil reduces, oil prices drop, and then it slowly climbs back to the high levels again. And it's a vicious cycle that we go through every 4 or 5 years. Why is it different this time? Okay, so back in 2008, all we had was an oil that came from your traditional oil sands. Okay, it was a higher porosity formation. Okay, conventional oil. Okay, and then in 2012 there wasn't enough oil, but we discovered shale oil and gas. Well, shale oil and gas became so abundant that it caused us to have too much supply. We were overly supplied. Oil prices went up to $130 a barrel and crashed, okay? And so if you think about it, we had an abundance of oil back in the 80s and 90s due to conventional oil. Then we went offshore because we were starting to run out of oil. And then we discovered shale oil and gas, which was very abundant. Now, what other new discoveries have we made? Zero. We don't have a fallback plan, guys. And so it's not just simply because oil prices rose, crashing the economy, and then everything fell apart. When oil prices rise, drill, baby, drill. Everyone starts drilling for oil. The shale revolution was so big. When oil prices got up to $130 a barrel under Obama, man, the shale industry was drilling as fast as they could. They developed areas that would take a decade in months because they had so many rigs and so much capital to deploy it. Now, right now, the reason why you're seeing a rig count drop and less development is simply because they're buying back shares. Instead of spending money on drilling, they're spending money on buying back shares, sending out checks to their shareholders, and making their investors more profitable, okay, versus going and developing, okay? So we're developing less. The America has made it very difficult to develop oil and gas. I know this because New York has completely prevented every single drilling company from drilling simply because they're withholding permits. Okay, now that's a story in itself. We're going to get permits out there, but it's only a matter of time. But it's little games that they're playing because they believe this green energy cult. Okay, and so back to my point. So right now we don't have a fallback plan. Shale the shale production is declining. We're heading for an energy cliff, okay? There's just simply not enough oil out there, guys. Now, OPEC has reduced output by about 3.3 million barrels of oil a day. Now, Sean, that's why oil prices are higher. Okay, if shale was producing as much as they did back under the days of Obama, oil prices would be $50-something a barrel. OPEC would have zero control over the markets. They have control of the markets simply because we do not have enough oil. If we were producing as much oil as we did under Trump, there would be enough oil to where OPEC would not dictate the price of a barrel. Right now, OPEC, Russia, they are in control. OPEC is simply in control. Now, everyone's thinking, okay, well, OPEC's goal is to get oil prices as high as possible. That is not true. Today, they could get oil prices to $150 a barrel if they wanted to, but they know that the economy is fragile. You get oil prices $150 a barrel, it will crush the demand simply because people can't afford it. The economy will crash, okay? Now, they have only been OPEC since the 1960s, okay? Only for the last 50 years, all right? They don't know everything there is to controlling the price of a barrel of crude, but they've learned a lot. They're getting smarter. They failed miserably in 2008, 2009, and they've taken what they've learned and they're applying it. So right now, they are trying to get ahead of this thing, the economy and everything that's happening, and they're curbing production based on the data that's out there. In the event that oil prices get too high, they have enough crude oil where they can release to the market right now, okay? And they'll try to keep the prices at a level to where it's profitable for them, but also preventing the economy from getting hurt, okay? And from what I understand, Biden, the administration, the feds, they're working closely with Saudi Arabia, okay? And Saudi Arabia is actually very interested in working with the feds simply because if they crash the very economy that buys crude oil, it doesn't benefit them except it reduces the demand, causing the price of a barrel of crude to drop. So he's very interested in their statistics, their information, and their data to help supply the world's crude, okay? But here's what you have to understand. You look at the Energy Information Administration. They were pushing the agenda. The agenda is they're telling the world that green energy is going to replace fossil fuels. So their new predictions are based upon green energy actually replacing oil. Well, they were dead wrong. They were dead wrong about the demand for crude oil increasing. I mean, we're at roughly 102, 103 million barrels a day, 3 to 4 million barrels a day demand higher than it was last year. And OPEC is expecting us to be around 104 million barrel a day demand by next year. Who's going to fulfill those barrels of oil? I mean, shale is slowing down. Rig counts are dropping. Saudi Arabia isn't going to fulfill it. Their fields are aging. Russia's fields are aging. I mean, Iran, they're at their peak capacity of in pre-sanction levels. It just doesn't exist, guys. And every decade, we lose a Russia, we lose a Saudi Arabia simply because, on average, each formation reduces about 10% a year. And so we don't have it, guys. And our demand is increasing. And green energy is going to take about 20 years. 20 years. And in 20 years from now, the demand is going to be so high that everything we offset isn't going to be there anymore. And so I don't know what's going to happen here in the next 20 years. Nobody really knows, okay? But I do know for a fact that oil prices, now, when I say for a fact, I'm just very confident in what I'm saying. I do know that we're going to be at high oil prices for a long time. There is a tremendous amount of uncertainty when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the inflation fears and so on and so forth. But the demand, most of that demand is not coming from America. It's coming from India. It's coming from the emerging markets. A lot of these economies that have never used oil before are using oil. They're getting Amazon. They're getting trucks. They're getting things that they never had before. They're trading in their bicycles. They're trading in their mopeds for gas-powered vehicles. And the cheapest, most reliable energy is fossil fuels. They're not buying Teslas. They can't afford it, guys. They can't afford electric. It doesn't exist to them not until it's economically feasible. Okay. And so right now, gas cars win. Right now, fossil fuels win. Right now, wind energy, solar power panels, electric cars, we have a long ways to go, guys. Okay. And you can't believe what the analysts are telling you. You can't believe what the agenda is shoving down your throat. Quite honestly, the news makes me dumber. When I listen and I read about what's happening in the oil and gas industry, I feel dumber because I'm sitting here thinking, man, is this real? Like, are they really going to replace fossil fuels? Is this really going to happen? And I've had a lot of time to think about it, okay? And so I've had a lot of time to think about the truth. And I realized that the news sways your truth. It moves your compass. And I've never, and see, that's the thing, I've never bought the lie. I've never believed the lie because I think outside of the realm that I could think for myself. Think for yourself, guys. There's 8 billion people in this world and the population is growing. Everything that they've said about green energy has turned out to be a lie. They're passing these policies to try to stop the development of oil and gas when oil demand is growing. They think that if they shut down fossil fuels, they're treating it like a cigarette. If we could get rid of all the cigarettes, then we could get rid of lung cancer. But the problem is that these aren't cigarettes and they don't cause lung cancer. Everybody uses it. I mean, the only way, see, if you get rid of oil, we're not going to get rid of our cars. You get rid of oil, how are we going to power our homes? Fossil fuels, how are we going to power our homes? See, everybody's utilizing it. Everybody's using it. And in America could stop using fossil fuels, but India and these other countries, their demand for it is increasing. And if we stop using fossil fuels, and if all we had was a green energy, you could say goodbye to Easy Street. There isn't enough energy out there, guys. I'm just looking at the cameras that I have on right now. These lights, these cameras, this computer in front of me, the power of this building. You can't power that with a solar power panel or a wind turbine. We are using fossil fuels. America uses fossil fuels. The world uses fossil fuels, and that's not changing. And they are lying to you because they want control, they want to dominate, and they want to stand with the green energy nut jobs because that's their policies, because it's anti red-blooded. I mean, they needed something. They needed something to be different from the policies of the Republicans. They pushed the agenda. They pushed the agenda that it's destroying the world, that fossil fuels is destroying the world. They pushed that agenda down our throats. They made us believe that driving a car and using fossil fuels is going to destroy the world. Vote for me and I'm going to save the world. Vote for the other guy and he's going to destroy the world. He made fossil fuels the cigarette of today. And so at the end of the day, the truth is that the administration in place and the current organizations that calculate energy and energy usage, they are a tool for the left to manipulate and control. Do not believe the lie. Do not believe the lie. The truth is that oil is the most consumed liquid, more than coffee, than any other commodity used today. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like this channel, please subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.